Security doesn't work here anymore. And neither do you. Vanessa Reyes had lost her seat on a board she never knew existed. Pack your tools and use the service elevator. That's where people like you belong.
I'll need the badge back before I leave, Dr. Reyes.
It's on the deed. Did he just say deed?
What do you do when the woman who just fired you in front of 200 employees doesn't know she works for you?
Daniel Reyes had been carrying a tool badge for 14 months, Facilities Coordinator, Building C. Nobody in Meridian General had reason to look twice at a man in navy coveralls who fixed elevator sensors and replaced ceiling tiles in the East Wing. His father built the company that owned the hospital. Not the hospital itself, but the holding structure above it, 3 layers removed from anything printed on a name badge. When the old man died, he left Daniel a controlling stake and one instruction, handwritten on the back of an envelope. Find out what the building is really like when no one thinks you're watching. So Daniel took a maintenance badge instead of a boardroom seat. He wanted to see who yelled at nurses during a code, who stole supplies, who lied on incident reports. He wanted to see who his wife really was when she thought her husband was invisible. Vanessa Reyes had married a man she believed installed drywall for a franchise contractor. She never asked which one what no one on that floor had thought to ask. Not the nurses, not the security guard reviewing the badge logs, was whose signature was actually on Meridian's operating license, filed 2 floors above the administrator's office. Vanessa walked into every morning. The humiliations arrived in installments. First, Vanessa reassigned Daniel to the loading dock, calling it a better fit for his skill set in front of the scheduling coordinator. Then she stopped acknowledging him in hallways they both used daily, a small, deliberate omission, the kind of confirmation bias that lets a person believe they've already won. By the 3rd week, other staff had absorbed the cue. A junior administrator mimicked her tone. A resident laughed a beat too loud at a joke about the janitor husband. Nobody intervened. Bystander silence has its own physics. It doesn't need consent. Only enough people looking away at the same time. Meanwhile, fragments surfaced that nobody assembled into a shape. A vendor invoice for equipment that was never delivered. 3 petty cash discrepancies logged under Vanessa's approval code. A complaint filed 8 months earlier by a night shift nurse, quietly closed with no follow-up. None of it, on its own, was proof of anything. Together, it was a pattern waiting for someone with the authority and the patience to read it. At 11:47 p.m., 4 minutes after Vanessa had the badge cut in the lobby, Daniel made a single phone call, 12 seconds. He didn't raise his voice. What no one clocked, not even the security guard reviewing the call logs the next morning, was which number Daniel had dialed and why it belonged to someone on the hospital's own board of directors. The audit team arrived on a Tuesday, unannounced, the way audits are supposed to. 3 people in gray suits, badges that opened doors. Nobody else's did. They didn't go to Vanessa's office first. They went to Building C, to a maintenance closet with a laptop nobody had noticed was encrypted. Vanessa found out when her assistant knocked twice and didn't wait for an answer. The auditors were already in the conference room. So was Daniel, not in coveralls this time, but a gray suit that fit the way ownership fits. Quietly and without announcement, her first reaction was a smile, the automatic kind, a self-soothing behavior the body performs before the mind has caught up. Then the micro-expression started arriving out of sequence. Brow, then jaw, then something involuntary at the corner of her mouth that no rehearsal could have prepared her for. The lead auditor slid a single page across the table, her signature, a discrepancy she'd approved without reading, 6 figures wide, tied to a vendor that shared an address with her personal accountant. Cognitive overload doesn't announce itself with tears, it announces itself with silence, the kind that lasts 4 full seconds before anyone in the room speaks again. If you've ever watched someone mistake patience for weakness, You already know how rooms like this end. Stay with me, Daniel didn't raise his voice either. He'd learned that from his father, or maybe from 14 months in a maintenance closet, watching people show him exactly who they were when they thought no one owned the building. The termination wasn't the end of it, though. Vanessa's signature wasn't the only one on that vendor file. There was a second name. The hospital's chief financial officer, a man who had smiled at Daniel in the elevator every morning for over a year. He was still in the building when the auditors arrived. He hadn't been told yet. The board's findings took 11 weeks to finalize. Vanessa Reyes lost her administrator's license across 3 states, her severance, and, after a civil suit from the vendor's defrauded insurance carrier, a judgment that erased most of what she'd hidden in a separate account, the CFO resigned before the ethics committee could vote. His resignation didn't stop the district attorney's office from opening a file with his name on it. The night shift nurse whose complaint had been closed without follow-up 8 months earlier was reinstated with back pay and moved into a new compliance role Daniel created specifically so a complaint like hers would never again disappear into a drawer. Daniel didn't take Vanessa's old office. He gave the administrator's chair to someone who had never once looked away in that cafeteria, then went back to the maintenance badge for another 6 months because his father's instruction hadn't expired just because one person had finally been caught. He and Vanessa didn't speak again except through attorneys. He didn't need the last word. The building had already said it for him. Patience with proof is a loaded spring.